Hello and namaste, and welcome to day 2 of this event from the Nutrition Innovation Lab, the Feed the Future Innovation Lab. My name is Keith West. I'm a professor of international health and nutrition at the Johns Hopkins Bloomberg School of Public Health, and have had the pleasure of serving as the Johns Hopkins PI for the sub-studies at Hopkins participated in during this 10-year event. This morning, we have a session on generating sustainable human and institutional capacity in Nepal. We have three stellar speakers to bring different perspectives to this ongoing challenge that involves building the abilities and capacity for pursuing the agriculture to nutrition agenda in the country, progress that has been made so far, and the opportunities that lie in the future for continuing on this trajectory. Our speakers this morning are Dr. Swetha Manohar. Dr. Manohar earned her master's and doctoral degrees at Johns Hopkins, where she is currently a fellow at the Global Food Ethics and Policy Program at the Paul Nitze School of Advanced International Studies, or SAIS, in Washington. True to her professional dietetics training as an RD at SAIS, Swetha is focusing her research on evaluating dietary sustainability among women living in food insecure conditions in rural South Asia. Swetha served as the Jeju Feed the Future Innovation Lab project scientist in Nepal, where she led our Poshan communities research and national capacity building initiatives. Our second speaker is Dr. Kedar Prasad Baral. Dr. Baral is professor and director of the MPH program at the Patan Academy of Health Sciences in Kathmandu. He earned his MBBS from Tribhuvan University and holds an MPH from the Royal Tropical Institute in the Netherlands. With career interests in reducing health disparities by training health professionals to serve in rural disadvantaged areas, Dr. Baral has worked extensively within Nepal's national health system, with bilateral and multilateral agencies forging health policies for the past 2 decades. Within the Feed the Future Innovation Lab, Dr. Baral has been active, contributing to the Alpha cohort and Poshan community studies. Our third speaker is Dr. Ram Shrestha. Dr. Shrestha holds a master's and honorary doctorate degrees from Tufts University. Over the past 25 years, Ram has provided technical support to improve the quality of numerous community health and nutrition projects, including USAID-funded programs across Southern Asia and Africa, and more recently, those of the University Research Group, LLC, to pursue these activities. In the 90s, as executive director of the Nepali Technical Assistance Group, or NTAG, Ram guided the scale-up of Nepal's national vitamin A program. To this day, it's one of the world's most successful vitamin A supplementation programs, saving sight, hearing, and life of many tens of thousands of preschoolers in Nepal. Ram has received awards from the Global Health Council, Time Magazine, Tufts University, and the Public Health Association of Nepal for his work to improve nutrition, health, and the lives of Nepalese children and women. He is currently assisting the College of Applied Food and Dairy Technology in Kathmandu to strengthen its MSc Nutrition and Dietetics program. So with these 3 stellar speakers and good friends, I would like to turn over the mic to Dr. Manohar to get this session rolling. Swetha?
All right, thank you, Keith. It's a true pleasure to be here with all of you this morning and to share research capacity building initiatives that we undertook in Nepal as part of the Nutrition Innovation Lab. Next slide. And if you can click, please. So where it all began, given this is a legacy event, I decided to dig up our original proposal that Hopkins had submitted back when innovation labs were still referred to as CRISPs in 2011. What we proposed to begin with was, 1, to define the context on ongoing work or research in the agriculture to nutrition pathway thematic area and convening workshops and meetings to do so. Click. We then stated we would set out to establish dialogue with stakeholders and prioritize major research gaps that needed filling. You could click again. And finally, to design a study and specify study objectives that had stakeholders buy in. Next slide. So how did all of this come together and tie directly into research capacity building? It came together in the form of multiple activities that thankfully included both intended and unintended successes, which I'll describe. Broadly, activities including symposia that convene multi-sectoral and interdisciplinary audiences were held. We also facilitated the training of early career researchers with an interest in study design, epidemiology, statistical analyses, or curriculum building. This was undertaken with input from academia and government institutions in Nepal. They informed the planning and implementation of these activities, for example, by identifying knowledge gaps and facilitating guest lectures by NIL faculty, or that these partners also nominated candidates for short-term trainings that were reviewed and selected by an NIL review committee. Next slide. So as an example of the short-term training, these are some of the candidates that attended the Graduate Summer Institute of Epidemiology and Biostatistics at Johns Hopkins University. And you can see the type of candidate varied in terms of what they were doing at the time and where they all are now professionally. Next slide. I'll bring us back to the scientific symposium now because that is one of our major activities. As noted, we thought it was only appropriate that we would take stock of what was happening in the field of research and unpacking the agriculture to nutrition pathway in the country itself. Our existing partners on NIL activities were NTAG, the Nepali Technical Assistance Group, and together with them, we explored interest in from both the Institute of Medicine, one of Nepal's long-standing academic institutions, and the Nepal Agricultural Research Council to engage as co-hosts of the event. They were interested and a partnership was formed. Tufts University and Purdue University too supported these symposium efforts. We went about engaging the government of Nepal immediately, specifically the Child Health Division at the Department of Health Services and also the National Planning Commission. The latter was especially interested in the event because of the newly endorsed multi-sectoral nutrition plan in Nepal at the time, and this was back in 2012. What started off in a smaller hotel with 120 participants, 9 talks and 3 posters, grew to an event that was attended by 500 participants with competitively selected oral presentations and posters and multiple training workshops over a 3-day event. It occurred each year with the exception of 2015, which is when the earthquake occurred. Next slide. What is unique about this event, in my opinion, is who it attracts. These are just pictures of the many faces, but there are a few forums like this one where you have policymakers, program implementers, academics, and importantly, a large student body from the sectors that range from agriculture to biochemistry to forestry to nutrition and education and beyond, all discussing the evidence base with a shared vision to improve food security and nutrition in Nepal. Next slide. The objectives were really simple, which is to share research on Nepal for Nepalis, by Nepalis predominantly, to inform decision-making, research priorities, and multi-sectoral programming, to provide training on technical content areas and research methodology via workshops, and then also to provide opportunities for networking. Next slide. Over the years, the quantity as well as the quality of the abstracts submitted to this event increased, as evidenced by this graph. The substantial uptick you see in 2017 is when we partnered with the Agriculture, Nutrition, and Health Academy, which holds a similar learning event globally. And so this brought a global audience to Nepal. Next slide. We also grew out the workshops and the range of topics they covered, from nutrition research methods to digital data collection, to dietetics, to food safety. Next slide. The success of the event is reflected not just in the growing attendance, but also in expressed interest by UN agencies like UNICEF and other groups like the NH Academy that sought to co-host and support the event with us, which did happen. Interest was also expressed by the National Planning Commission of Nepal to be a co-host, which reflects the country's commitment to evidence-based policy and programming. And they have been co-hosts since 2018 of this event. And it bears restating that these successes would have been in no way achieved without the consistent partnership of NTAG, IOM, and NARC, all of whom were co-hosts of this event since 2012. Next slide. In hearing back from participants about this event, there's a sense that the conference is teaching a cadre of professionals in Nepal about research with simple approaches, such as a consistent format of the event and how abstracts need to be submitted in a systematic format. For many, this is the first time they're writing an abstract and getting a chance to practice scientific thinking and scientific writing. And this in and of itself has been a valuable experience to many in their career progression. It also gives those that may not be directly engaged in research on a day-to-day basis, but those whose work may be driven by global evidence, an appreciation for science and its complexity. It offers a unique opportunity and a safe space for first-time presenters and young research, typically speaking in their their second, third, or even fourth languages. And these are important considerations when we think about capacity building. Asking difficult questions. This event is one where we can see early career professionals asking difficult questions of their policymakers and vice versa. There's also time taken out by seasoned professionals in this field to talk about their research to students or talk about students' research with them, and in turn being motivated by their enthusiasm. And this has been a constant observation in this event. Next slide. The unintended success of our capacity building work was more born out of the Poshan Community Studies, which is a national longitudinal study that assessed food security, diets, and nutrition in Nepal annually and seasonally between 2013 and 16. Through the Poshan study, there was a steady skills development taking place over the course of the study. We worked with seasoned firms like New Era and NTAG, who were excellent, but to whom longitudinal study design was new to. For the seasonal sites, resident research teams were recruited from the community who had no previous experience in population-based studies, but are now highly skilled and frequently hired to conduct household surveys on health and nutrition. The Poshan cross-sectional study data is also now publicly available and has been used by MPH students at the Institute of Medicine who were trained by the Nutrition Innovation Lab in-country data teams to analyze the data. Next slide. The symposium also revealed stellar early career Nepali researchers committed to getting the work that they had presented as an abstract in the symposium into shape for full publication. And so together with support from NIL faculty, their first authored publications were born. And these are examples of some of them. Next slide. The success of, if you can click also, please. The success of the capacity building activities we undertook could not have been possible without our partners and the funding from USAID, which after the second year actually came from the USAID mission in Nepal. There are always challenges with this type of work, and in terms of generating sustained interest, it took a team of people from the Nutrition Innovation Lab working with our co-hosts for approximately 6 to 9 months to plan and execute these symposia. The fact that the symposia and all our capacity building activities are free helped even the playing field in terms of participation, and travel stipends were offered to students in colleges outside of Kathmandu. A vital resource, but intensive undertaking, was engaging the government of Nepal and ensuring that they had input on key ministries and personnel that they would need to have at these events to ensure eventual research uptake of these findings. Also, to create sustained momentum and interest in this event, a community of professionals, and to also sustain a community of professionals pushing forward these sciences and related discussion. In the end, it was clear that this is what it takes. Click, please. When I talk about incentives for collaboration, it's important to bear in mind that when we create partnerships, we heavily rely on our partners. And oftentimes partnerships rely on memorandums of understanding and a genuine interest in supporting building a new generation of public health professionals. They don't always rely on sustained funds or resources for the individual or institutions, and these are challenges. Consideration for investments in institutional versus individual capacity building need to consider assessing institutional readiness and institutional memory given frequency of turnover, knowledge demands, and question how can we really create enabling environments for ag to nutrition research and scientific collaborations that are not asymmetric. And some ways to do this, I'm sorry, I think I jumped to my click earlier, but some ways to do this is to create, for example, to conduct assessments of whether all capacity activities are equitable and inclusionary before they're carried out, that we can consider the role of professional associations as institutions of sorts to invest in, to advance science and training, and to support peer-to-peer mentoring activities between researchers that sit at different institutions across the globe to facilitate peer support, mentorship, knowledge generation, and resource allocation. And with this, I'll bring us to a close with just a listing of the many people involved with these activities, and a big thank you to all of them. And with that, I will pass it on to Dr. Baral. Thank you.
It has been an honor and a pleasure to present in this forum. Thank you, organizer, for inviting me to present much more of reflective, the reflective thought that I have with this project, particularly because NIL is a complex and multi-sectoral. It has a multi-dimension. That's why it's been very difficult to summarize within 10 minutes. The fundamental question is, how do we understand and interpret capacity building? Here, I'm going to talk much more of not the event or the single output, much more of what is actually left here. That's what interest for all of us. The first point is whether the agenda is being percolated under this bigger system or not. That's very, very important because that generates the real discussion, question, and the work that has been done. Whatever the capacity training, the exposure, the hands-on experience, the skill set, if that's been percolated wherever in the system, that's very, very important in my understanding. The measurement of capacity is a challenging task because it has a multi-dimension and it's a dynamic process. You know, it's like a society and how the business is being run. Therefore, I will just try to summarize through a series of kind of illustration. Next, please. NIL is, to summarize this slide, NIL is one of the contributor under the leadership of Ministry of Health and Population and Academia. Just to illustrate few examples, like BVNC participants are now catalytic in academia and in practice because there is an improvement in and strengthening in nutrition science teaching at the different university. That's very, very important, and it's singly difficult to measure as well, you know, unless we go deep into it. Greater number of students are choosing nutrition topics for their master level thesis. It's being, you know, it's going on. People from diverse disciplines are increasingly attracted towards the research and research methodology training and workshop. That's Swetha already mentioned. That's the people are asking. There are questions for us, you know, when that will happen, whether that event will happen again or not. That's what this project has left here. Their engagement and networking motivates even me to do more, because we used to motivate them 10 or 9 or 8 or 7 years ago. Now they are asking and they are motivating us. That's very important, and it's difficult to measure unless we feel it, unless we go deep dive. That's very, very important. Like a lot of people are asking us different, difficult as well as, kind of helpful question. Informal but fundamental functional network is there. We don't have a, alumni or something like that, but there is a BDNC network. They are working together. There are joint publication. The training workshop people are visiting us. They are asking different question opportunities and their own interests and what they want to pursue in future. That's very, very, to me and to us, Nepalese professional and academics, this is extremely important for us. That's what this complex project left in Nepal. Next, please. Let me go the research in which I was part of it. Potion study is unique in terms of method and results. This is a very unique study. We learn a lot while implementing this study. Let me take an off-record study. Is a complex, ambitious community level study. The tools development like measurement, sample collected at multiple time points from the same research participant, and sample transport, storage, and including maintaining record, sample from field to transit storage center to Kathmandu, and then shipment to the assigned lab. And maintaining all the records, including temperature, daily temperature record of freezer. It looks simple, but maintaining the whole system, that's critical and critical thing to learn, and we have gained a experience. Not only me, a critical mass of people have been gone through this process, and now they have a insight. And like for us, recruitment, mobilizing team, training, supervision, implementation, training is very important because we are collecting clinical sample at field level. The clinical training, implementing clinical training is challenging for mid-level health worker, and we learn a lot. Clinical sample collection, transport, appropriate storage, whole cycle. I'm giving an example of whole cycle. I'm not talking of the event. That's really help us but in a complex management system. We learn a complex management system, managing multi-level people in the same project. That's probably is very, very unique activities, and it's really help us to have a insight. Data management, that's another important dimension. Dealing and communicating ethics committee. Dealing with ethics committee it looks simple, but having this multi-year complicated project, communicating, updating them, and helping them to develop an insight. Otherwise we had a different question at different time, and it was quite a learning for all of us, actually. We successfully completed the field work. And currently we have stored the remaining sample at Patan Academy of Health Sciences, maintaining all the cold chain, record update, all the inventory management. Not only, I'm not talking a human resource alone, human resource management, inventory management, transport. This is a very complex management system itself. Next, please. Now, there are increased number of nutrition advocate in health and agriculture sector. If I remember 10 years or 9 years ago, there were few people. Now there is a critical mass in different sector and at different level. It's very, very important. New program and started and strengthening existing training program. The existing program being strengthened, it's continuing going on. There are new project people are exploring, people are getting resources from other donor agencies because it's enhanced, it's strengthened, it's delivered a skill set to a critical mass of people. Leadership at MOS and different institutions are more informed on nutrition policy, program, and activities. And the continuous feedback being provided by the nutrition advocate to the leader is contributing a lot. There are people who are, asking questions compared to 7, 8, 9 years ago. We are receiving a lot of questions, including academia or Ministry of Health manager. Mid-level trained personnel experience, complex research are in market. It's an asset for the country. As I mentioned, the population, whether this the capacity that enhance, whether that's being percolate into the bigger system or not, that's very, very important. And having people trained and skilled, motivated people and with the interest in the market is extremely important. PASS as a partner in all project app is strengthen its nutrition training and research cycle management, not only research. There's a whole cycle, and to conclude with my presentation, to me, without a doubt, NIL is one of the major contributors of growing movement of nutrition movement in Nepal, pushing for an improvement in nutrition status of our children and mother. With this, I would like to thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Kedar. We'd now like to invite Dr. Ram Shrestha.
Thank you, Keith. Good morning and good evening. My presentation will, focus on my discussion with, Nepali nutrition professionals who participated in seminar and workshops organized by NIL. Can I have another slide, please? I interacted with more than 30, institution students and try to understand, their feedback, from their participation into seminar and workshops, right? Most of them, they talked about, improving their capability, from them. And these are the students who have already completed, their master degree, and they will be working in, food and dairy industry, hospitals, clinics, government health and agriculture departments, public-private NGOs, research organizations, nutrition and dietetics. So these are the people who will be working in these areas in Nepal. Right. Can I have next slide, please? So then I, in our discussion, so participating in this seminar and workshop, what they learn, what capacity they have developed, how their thinking has been changed, or still they are thinking the same way, so those kind of thing we had in discussion, right? And most of the students, most of them told me that before they graduate, this really help them to improve the quality of their research proposal. Before, they, from their seniors, they used to learn that, in research proposal, they used to have a very difficulty in getting approval. But this really helped them to have a quality, proposal, and also it really helped them to develop the research question, conducted the research, and also they were able to, write abstract, most of them, they have already published their thesis, articles, right? So these are the things, they were saying that, this is what before they graduation, this is, what they really got supported from participating in this workshop and seminars, right? And after graduation, these people, they will be working in Nepal in Ministry of Health Nutrition section, and also they will be working in the Ministry of Agriculture, like DFTQC, Department of Food and Technology lab. And they were telling me that, now they are able to write, concept paper and get funding for their lab research, right? And so this is a very good asset they have got from this workshop, right? And then also there are, these people are also working in different, for example, NHRC. Some of them are working in Nepal Health Research Council, where they are pushing a nutrition agenda now more than before. So these are the areas they were thinking they are contributing, and they are really talking about, the quality research, right? Why evidence-based, can be get from doing the research. And after they graduated, after, they work in this area, and and then they also said that, all of them, wherever they were working, they were trying to sensitize their seniors as well as their, decision makers, that we need evidence, and evidence can be get from the research. And if we don't do the quality research, then it will be, you will not get the proper information. So they are sensitizing them, for example, one of the student who completed their master degree and got, they are awarded with the what do you call, their research was, published in international journal. They wrote abstract, and they also got the gold medal for their research work, right, or their graduation, right? So that's also one of the example. And when they went and they joined, the armed force police, where they established a nutrition and dietetics department. And now he has been able to convince his seniors to have research activities. And now he's supervising a couple of people in his department to do the research in nutrition and dietetics. So this is one of the example, I heard from them. And another example is some of them have been working in the municipality and with the NGOs, and they are helping them to write the proposals and secure funding for their nutrition research work. So these are the areas they were helping. And also there are some of them told that they are doing their own business. They become entrepreneur, and they are doing studies and research and developing or preparing recipes for snack bars, for the students, school students, as well as they are also trying to do some snack bars for the for the diabetic patients, right? So these are also area another dietetics student and faculty. She has her own company, and she's also trying to write some grants, research proposal. So these are the areas they told me that after graduation, after they have been using the skills they have learned. Another thing, another area, they told me that after participating in one of the dietetics, the workshop where there was mostly brainstorming, they got so encouraged that, they are now writing like CAFODAT, college and the NDA, Nepal Dietetic Association, and this company together, they are writing a concept paper to get a support to organize a workshop where they will develop a guideline and protocol for certification of dietitians, which is not exist right now in Nepal. And they got, they got this idea encouraged by the Malawi example, which was presented there, right? So they are taking that concept, and they have already wrote the concept, and they are applied for funding. Hopefully, if we get that, and TRUPS will be providing us the technical support, hopefully. And so that will be the another step, now the students are taking from that lesson learned. So talking all this, getting information from them, this is what I have learned from them, and then some of the suggestions they gave me, that it will be better if they have some kind of alumni where the people who has really participated and got excited, they get together and develop a kind of hub where if they have any questions or anything, they can share with each other. So they were saying that kind of suggestions, they gave, and they said that it will be better if in Nepal, if we could have that, so that we can, develop our skills more and do the more research. So again, with this kind of whole discussion and getting their ideas with that, what I felt that, from my experience, what I felt that, the NIL has really succeed in planting a seed, of doing a quality research in Nepal, right? And through this institutions, the participants, that seed can be planted in different, organizations that will be really need in Nepal to improve in terms of nutrition and health, right? So that's what I think, it's very successful in planting a seed. The one thing I think it really need to nurture that seed and make sure that, they will get, whenever they have some questions or some support, to do further research. I think that will be one of the things they will be looking for that. So with that, I think I will end my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ram. And let me congratulate our speakers for being on time. And that is a sign of a very successful meeting. So we very much appreciate that. And for the topics that you have picked up on, that has captured not the unintended consequence, but the planned collateral benefits of a project like the Nutrition Innovation Lab in building capacity. As a student of the country over the past 37 years, it's hard to believe, one lives this long. I can tell you that the capacity of Nepal has expanded exponentially in terms of the quality of its professionalism across agriculture to health to nutrition. It's been an astounding trajectory to witness. And projects like the Nutrition Innovation Lab contribute in different ways to that momentum. Some of the questions that have come in, you've already answered, but I would summarize them and ask each of you to reflect on a question about the role of a reliable symposium, the role of a reliable research infrastructure that can motivate and motivate Nepali scientists across the agriculture to nutrition spectrum to continue to build their competencies in rural Nepal. What could a project like NIL, Nutrition Innovation Lab, do today, looking forward in the next 10 years to keep this momentum going at the level that any project can do? If anybody wants to tackle that basic question.
Maybe I will start. In terms of a reliable event such as the Innovation Lab Symposia, I mean, the consistency in and of itself can help develop skill sets, right? So you attend an event, you see how some of the science is done, how it's shared, how it's generated, you learn from it, you might do it, you might teach it. And the symposium allows for all of that, a space for all of that to happen. It also creates and sustains interest in this research agenda of how to improve food security and nutrition in the country. It creates an enabling and a very supportive environment because there's this very special community that has come out. And I think you can hear this from all of the other activities that both Dr. Baral and Dr. Shrestha have also described. And it allows for relationships to form. And so difficult topics, perhaps recently, there's a lot of discussion about how to conduct research or global health nutrition research more equitably. How can we have, this allows for that kind of those discussions based on relationships that are formed at these types of events. And it could potentially also act as a marker of where our collective skill sets are and capacity is as a community of people, practitioners, academics working on this topic. So those are some of the ideas from my, or thoughts rather from my side about what a consistent event could do.
Thank you. Dr. Kedar Baral, would you like to reflect on that for a moment? We have a few minutes left.
Okay. Okay.
Maybe pick up on where donors can help in this persistence.
You know, this there are this reliable symposium. That's the other important part from the perspective. I'm working with a young generation professional. That's really motivate, you know, the work they want, because I want to present there and I want to get feedback, and so that you know, I will make it publishable. And you know, the symposium was not the presentation. We used to do coaching as well. Kit, you remember, and all the organizer remember that there is a coaching session as well, and that's really motivate, which is not actually intended. It's a networking, and there will be a journal editor there. You know, there's a whole spectrum. That's why I'm talking of kind of system. You know, having kind of sensation at the system level. The other research part, that's what the important thing is. This project actually having 10 years working in Nepal, have had a ample time to have a multiple, you know, kind of impact. I will give an example of developing research culture within an organization. It has a time, you know, it's not the 3 years project that we really want to deliver this result and have a good report and 1 or 2 manuscript. That was, in a sense, that was only the byproduct. The product is actually the developing culture. Having, like we are doing research, it's really strengthened our institutional ethical review board. which was not intended, while working together, communicating, sitting together, having meeting, having a presentation. It's not the formal training. It's a kind of, I see, actually NIL has that sort of impact at different sector, different section, aspect, and sector. And that's remaining, there was no activities on ethics training or ethics review committee kind of presentation. But probably I had more than 30 meeting with them, face-to-face meeting. And I learned, and they also learned. That's what I got. That sort of developing research culture, institutional enabling environment, the whole system development, the confidence, the acceptance by organization, not the accepting by an individual or some of the researcher in an institution. I'll just give you an example from Patan. The last example, like we are still storing this sample because our authority appreciate the work that we did in the field. That's why they are allowing you. No, you can do. You can have a space. You can optimize the resource, whatever is available. This is precious issue. The recognition of the leadership of such for such activities, I would consider this is an innermost impact.
Thank you, Dr. Kedar. Your enthusiasm is catchy, and Dr. Shrestha, if you have 10 seconds to give a pithy comment. You actually said everything in your talk, but
thank you, Keith. I think this symposium is a starts stimulating motivation, right? But you really need a follow-up, right? And some of the students, they have said that during this kind of symposium, if there will be some kind of practical doing things, right, that will also help them. Even not that, then there should be a follow-up kind of thing, so that if they have any questions or anything, now they are doing research, but they have questions, who should we ask them, right? So have a kind of that kind of hub, right? So that's what they were saying, that you need to really help them if you have that kind of, at least for 1 year.
Sounds great. I want to thank each of you for your presentations. And I want to thank USAID for the opportunity to not only have this symposium, but today, but the past 10 years of the Nutrition Innovation Lab and the leaders at Tufts University. Thank you very much for a most engaging session.
Thank you.
Thank you.